Hey Neppers, it's me, Wild Neptune. Just want to make a quick video showing off some compositions for Rift level 15. If you like this content and want to see more like it, please like, comment, and subscribe right down below. It's one click and it means everything to me. Anyway, thanks for all the support and let's get going. Now, unfortunately, I don't have Kane, so I won't be able to show him off. But maybe that's a fortunate thing, because that means I wasn't baited to pull on him. So, let's look at a Rift controller here. Of course, you want to have increased attack, increased damage on the first tier. Second tier for the Soul Weaver one. Third tier, you want that extra attack on a basic skill, which is very strong, and which does allow you to one-tap this content. So this is the team I'm using right here. Yes, 2 collab characters, unfortunately. We'll talk about that. So the Hazel. Idol's Cheer, definitely want to have that for this composition. Basic stats, want your 220 ER. Here is the Haste. Now, the Haste, you really want to have Torrent Sleep, and this is because this composition can suffer from having lack of debuffs. It can work without Torrent Sleep. However, I feel like you definitely want to try to have the EE that gives you bleeding on the S1 to help a little bit with the debuffs there, potentially. Obviously, having a better Torrent Sleep is better. I am almost free to play here, so. The Elphelt, so you want to have her at pretty low speed for this composition, and this is because she only needs to land the target, basically, and sometimes a backup defense break if Haste misses his, and if Haste does miss his, the run can still clear in one go, as long as she also lands the target. And it's very nice here, as she does have 2 chances to land the target, so it is a pretty low chance that she misses both of them if you have a decent Song of Stars. And then finally, you do have the Jacko. And here is the Jacko. Of course, you want Rage stat. You want to have base speed, as much damage as possible. Best in slot for this is a Lesinox Wrap. And this is because she gets not only this bonus crit chance, which is very nice, but also bonus CR when she uses an extra attack. And yes, when she procs her S1 multiple times, right? And the S2, not S2, yeah, whatever, like the S1 passive is. I don't know where it is. But when she procs that, it does proc multiple times when you use the S1 multiple times. And you get more CR push, like double from that. And then also, if the boss AoE counters you, you get the Idol's Cheer boost, and he basically takes turns like crazy. It is very insane to see happen. So let's actually watch how it works. So here we go. Hopefully Haste lands his defense break here. Only 1 bleed, which is unfortunate. The bleeds are actually more important than the defense breaks because we have that backup Elphelt for another defense break here. And even if we do not proc Haste and we don't hit Elphelts, we lose out on a little bit of damage, but we still can one-tap this boss if we do so. We also land the target here, which is important. Now we only have 1 more debuff for the Haste, which we really want to land, which is going to be the Vampiric. So, and hopefully too, maybe Jacko can put on like a blind. Okay, we do get the blind. All right, so not that bad here. I would say that this is kind of lucky that we landed the blind right there. You can't always count on landing that because, again, it is random. We also landed it at a very opportune time, right when the boss was going to extend the debuffs. So we get to keep the blind too. Now, having 4 arcs is not ideal. Most of the time, you really want to have 3 or less. Because at 4, if Jacko is stealth when the boss uses his ultimate, she will take a lot of damage. At this bulk, I believe she almost dies if it's not a crit. If it is a crit, she dies. Also, like I said, we really want to land this Vampiric, and this is because of all the attacks you're doing with Jacko, the boss gets AoE like crazy, and this little bit of extra healing that we do does allow not only for our Jacko to stay healthy, but even with like the limited amount of turns that our Elphelt is doing, and for the small amount of damage our Hazel is doing, does allow us to keep them healthy. I had runs where I've watched without landing Vampiric, and the Hazel does actually sometimes drop below 50%, and then my team vanishes. But we will probably see maybe a boss ultimate when we're stealth, so we can see the damage that we take from that actually. Yep, we'll get to see it, and I do believe it will almost kill us. Yeah, actually, it did less damage than I thought it was going to do. Still a decent amount of damage though at 4 arcs, so we definitely don't want to have that much more than that. I do know that 5 like 100% kills you though. So yeah, but now after that we have going on to 2 arcs, and we are looking pretty safe here, honestly. Maybe that missed though because of the blind chance. I'm not actually sure. I wasn't really watching that closely. Like I said, you want to have your Elphelt as slow as possible, just so that she doesn't take so many turns. One of the big issues with Elphelt is that she does take 2 turns, and that does eat on your turn bar. I do know that there are compositions like this that run Elphelt faster, and I'm sure that works. But I just like having the slow one. It means that my damage dealers and my important characters like my Hazel, who does some healing, and my Haste that has the Vampiric and stuff like that, does a little more damage, and obviously my Jacko can take even more turns and do even more damage. Well, do their thing like Jacko's doing right now, and just going absolutely sicko mode on this boss here. It does look like we will get the 1-tap on this run. So if Jacko does a double, it only does a single, so we will maybe have to wait a little bit longer for it. But the Haste also doing some decent damage, and just this final Jacko hit here will be enough to do it. A little bit kind of close, I would say, but a pretty good run. Now let's look at the results here. What is this? Well then, anyway, these are the damage results overall. As you see, the Jacko just did, well, everything. They were kind of just watching her do her thing. So this composition is not a one-shot 100% of the time. Although I would say like half the time, it's hard to give an accurate representation without like doing this a ton of times. But sometimes it will like fail the one shot at, I want to say, between 90 to 95% damage done overall. It just really depends on your RNG that you get with your Jacko going nuts. Also, in some runs, I do drop defense break, which is kind of annoying, and those runs will also not usually one shot. So just keep that in mind. It's not a 100% one shot, but it does the job enough, I would say, at the gearing level and at only RIFT15. So the next run here, we actually forego the Elphelt, so one less limited unit to have, and instead we use the Surin. So here is the Surin. You really want lifesteal for this, especially because of all those AoEs you'll be taking. So if you have the Abyss lifesteal set, this is actually the perfect time to use it, because it's probably the only time you ever will use it. This is our Beautiful Seasons. It was an event artifact which does extra damage to a elite or boss monster. Very nice. It still works even at minimum enhance, and the plus 30 is just for bonus stats. You can use but anything here really, like symbol, anything here that increases damage is perfectly fine. For the Haste, you just want to swap in something like Warhorn, or maybe you want to have a Vile Talisman, because with the Surin, you don't want to stack too many debuffs. Anyway, let's see how this one runs. Again, this run is going to be a little bit less damage overall, and we also don't have that safety net of having 2 defense breaks on your team, so you really do have to land that one. But now luckily here though, we will have a ton of debuffs. So can we land the Vampiric, which is very nice. And now the Surin should land the rest of the bleeds and everything right here. And we do have a good spread of debuffs. We missed out on the attack down because we actually had a little bit of too many overall, but we will get to see how this team runs out. I won't talk about much. Again, not much difference between this, except you have Surin instead of the Elphelt, and the Surin will take more turns than the Elphelt does, simply because she's much faster, and that will cut into some of the damage we do with our Jacko. But anyway, I'm going to skip to the end of this one as we can see the results. So here are the results for this one. As you see, a little bit short of the one shot. Here are the results overall. See, your Elphelt's damage is lower, and this is because of the lack of target. I will also probably say I think I got pretty lucky on this run with the number of procs we got for the Jacko. But yeah. Also, the Haste did die during the run. One of the other things you have to watch out for is because the Surin will take more turns than Elphelt does on the other composition, you will proc too many of the counterattacks, and it will, kill your team. Even with the bulk and lifesteal we have, it wasn't quite enough to keep Haste alive for the entire fight. Now, maybe at the end there, that was a blessing, because he is the lowest damage character that we have during the fight, but something you might want to watch out for. The next team will be using Milim in place of Jacko. You want to have your Colladra on her. Now, my Milim is triple S. It's just also, again, a collab unit, which is kind of an issue. I just basically moved the gear from Jacko over to Milim. So this run is not as much damage because Milim doesn't get the constant procs and the constant CR pushes from the Alessanox Wrath, but she does do a lot of damage, as we will see pretty soon, hopefully. So, just destroys the bar. This one is much more predicated, I think, on RNG to get good runs going, as I do believe that sometimes, if you have very good RNG, you can indeed one-shot this boss. Now, the biggest issue with Milim, though, is that because Jacko always does an extra attack, you are pretty safe at extending the debuff counter. But Milim has to proc here, in order to get the extension. So we did get it, which is very nice. Also, it's a little bit of RNG here, as the boss can fail to strip off the attack buff here. We do get it back though, right away, which is pretty nice. We'll have to see if we land another S1 and do all that damage. We're doing, again, we do. And when the Milim does hit, she hits really hard. It is just, again, much more RNG for this run because we do have to proc those extra attacks to extend the debuffs here. See already that some of them are already at, they're already gone right here. So hopefully that the Elphelt will, or the Haste will land a defense break with their next attack. So they'll have this one chance here to do it, basically. I believe he has, just has one. Okay, so he just landed the defense break, which is all nice and everything. And we are a little over halfway now, and a little bit over halfway on the boss, which is about what you expect from here. But as you see, not as consistent as the Jacko version, and usually will teeter out between 90 to 95% or so damage dealt at this gearing. The other benefit too is that Milim does heal a little bit just by herself on the S1, so you don't really have to worry about her dying unless she has no health when the boss uses his S3, not S3, whatever this ultimate is. So nice double proc there. And we will get to see a 4 arc damage here, but the Milim's evasion does protect her. So not bad there. But you see right here, we have dropped defense break again, and we didn't land it this time. So we will, drop short of our expectations. Unfortunately, it looks like. I think the Elphelt might have her S3 up now. Oh, we'll land the defense break there though. No, she doesn't. Only this one. We don't land the target though, which is nice, and that might push the Milim up enough. No, not quite. A little bit lower damage than I thought we would get, but here are the results. Again, the big problem here is dropping your defense breaks and your debuffs and everything like that, because you don't have that bonus of your Elphelt doing your Jacko doing all those extra attacks for you. Now let's talk about the fact that yes, at RIFT15, you do need to have a lot of limited units and artifacts in order for it to one-shot effectively. All of the alternative DPSs that I've used, such as Ravi, what else? Melissa, Mercedes, Cirilla, Carbon Rose, all of these damage is significantly lower versus Milim and especially Jacko. And this is mainly due to the fact that they lack the ability to proc extra attacks. The Mercedes is the highest damage overall because her S2 can proc, but remember, it only procs every other turn, and when she's really slow, she's not really going to be taking that many turns as she lacks the CR push that Jacko has, and just the overall big damage that the Milim has. And this is where a unit like Kane actually comes into play, because Kane does have that S1 extra attack, which can proc, and he does get the ability to use the Lessenux Wrath like Jacko does. I actually do think that if you do not have the limited collab units, he is actually probably best in slot for Rift overall as your fire DPS. Should he pull him because of this? Probably not. Still, I want to say that it's really up to you. It is a lot harder of a decision to make. I will say that if you're at the stage in the game where you are at Rift and you're thinking about one-shotting it at RIFT15, you've probably been playing long enough where you have Milim or Jacko or both of them. And it's players who don't have them and they're not at a stage where they can do Rift yet. And even if you can do Rift, like let's say in like 2-3 months, well then Rift could be gone in 2-3 months, and you only have that little time to actually use Kane for content, which is the danger. And again, we just had Tavern Banner and Hoochie Shop 2, which usually means something like a triple banner, a collab rerun, which will probably be FMA if it does happen. So you also have to worry about that too. So there are just a lot of downsides again to summoning for Kane, even if his upsides seem pretty good right now. So I hope you enjoyed this little video and basically a showcase of what you can do at RIFT15. I do understand that a lot of the units and artifacts, composition stuff that I showed are not achievable at the moment by a lot of people playing the game, and I admit I do think that is kind of a problem, and really pushes the game in a direction that I'm not too fond with myself. I don't really think the gearing you need to do this is actually that high. Like the gear I showed you that I used is not insane or anything like that. It's definitely achievable by people who are playing less time than I have. It's more getting those units like your Elphelt, your Song of Stars to a high level, your Jacko, getting your Lessenok's Wrath, right? You need your Idol's Cheer, another 5-star artifact. Getting stuff, like a Haste even can be kind of annoying also. But, maybe also that's why, what's his name, Kane exists. Kind of fill the role of not having like a Jacko or a Milim. It just really sucks that he is a non-limited hero that you have to pull on for content that is only going to be here for like a few months, right? And he's arguably not even as good as Jacko, although I do think he still does the job relatively well. Anyway, I am Wild Neptune. It's been a good one. Nep out.